Hi everybody, I'm Tricia Morris from Club Scrap, and I'm just warming up for today's show. Because if you can do this, you can do the project. Allow me to introduce you to this project. It's a canvas that turns into a maze book, and it's kind of artsy, and it leaves quite a paper trail. This is going to be a lot of fun, so let me show you how we're going to get started with a piece of Colossal paper. This is a 16 by 20 sheet of paper, and I've already folded it, so let me show you how I did that. This is from Club Scrap, and it's a watercolor paper, and it's just beautiful for this project. I'm folding it in half just like a hot dog, and then you'll fold the free edge up to the mountain. We've done this before to fold that in half. Flip it over, fold the free edge up to the mountain fold, and now I've divided it into 4 equal sections and no measuring. Then I'll open this up, and then we'll fold it again into a hamburger. There we go, folded that in half. This free edge up to the mountain, flip it over, this free edge up to the mountain, and now what we have are 16 equally sized sections. Now this is going to be the canvas that we will decorate, but we want to decorate it in those 16 sections. In order to do that, I'm going to tape them off, and I'll just pull a piece of painter's tape. And because this is painter's tape, I've noticed that the tack is a little too high, so just by adding a little lint, and if you're wearing jeans in this situation, they'll come in quite handy. I'll take that off my de-linted pants, and I'll just place this piece of tape halfway on, halfway off the edge of my canvas. Then you'll do the entire perimeter like this, and then all of the fold lines will get the same piece of tape as well. And of course, magic of television, I've already gone ahead and done that. Now I'm working with some Faber-Castell oil pastel. What I love about these colors is they're vibrant, they're rich, they're saturated, and they really look great on this textured paper. All right, maybe just a couple more colors, maybe some rust here. I'm using earth tones because fall is fast approaching, and this is pretty much what the trees look like in Wisconsin this time of year. Okay, make sure you go to the outer edges or your frame will have its own frame inside, and that doesn't look right. Be sure to sweep all the way across the canvas. Now I'm reaching for a bottle of mineral oil. It says lubricant and laxative, but today it's actually a blending agent. All right, so I've got a cotton ball here, and I'm just going to swab up some of this mineral oil. It's odorless, so it's nice for the project. You can also use baby oil. And being careful not to use too much, I'm going to just start with the lightest color. And once again, working in these long sweeping motions, I'm going to retrace my steps over the oil pastel lines that I made. I'll switch now to the green, final darkest shade. Okay, everything's blended quite nicely. I could stop there, but you know me, I'm not going to stop quite yet. The next thing I'm going to do is use some watercolor. So yes, oil and water don't mix, but on this canvas I think they can. I've introduced you to these before, the Faber-Castell Aquarelle watercolor pencils, and what I have here is kind of a unique setup. I've got a palette. This is actually an acrylic Club Scrap ruler, but on the back, the grid of this ruler creates a little bit of a texture. And I'm adding water to the ruler, and then I can take the tip of my watercolor pencil and color into the water, thus creating a nice palette of color that will then be added to my canvas. Okay, now water and color. We need lots of water here, and I have a bristle brush. So I'm just going to take my water spritzer. I keep one of these at my workstation at all times. I'll even add a little more water to this, and then with the brush, I'll just pick it up from the palette and Pollock style splatter my canvas. Well, then I'm going to just take my cleaning rag and wipe off my fancy palette here and spray it with a little bit more water. So this time I'm just using my 199 black and spray with a little bit of water. Spray my brush again, because if we don't have water, nothing's really going to happen. I've learned this, so just trust me. Now with this, I'm going to create a finer mist just by running my finger across the tips of the brush. Pick up some more of this off the palette here and spread that around. Okay, clean my palette once again before we head on to the next technique. I'm using a really fabulous brush tip pen from Faber-Castell. This is a really popular pen for them, the Pitt artist pen, and it's India ink, so it's permanent. So I'm mixing all these different mediums on this project. Here's that brush, and you can actually just start at one end. I'm going to make some loop-de-loops as I draw a brush line over this canvas. So the important thing is, I mean, you can see that I'm putting an awful lot of concentration and effort into what I'm doing here with this. I think the more you try to be deliberate about this, the worse it's going to be. You have to let go, let your arm go, and just not try so hard. It's great therapy for those of you with control issues. Finally, because I can't keep my stamps off of anything, I'm just going to add one more little stamped image. This is from Club Scrap's Cyprus collection, and a nice earth-colored ink pad. All right, now that we have everything laid down, you can keep on going if you want, but at this point I'm going to peel away the painter's tape, and you can start to see the squares revealed. And the last one, stand back and say Shazam! I love it! Okay, so I could frame this. I could really frame this in a 16 by 20, but we're going to make our little paper trail here with the maze book. And I'm not going to use the same cuts I used in a previous maze book episode. I'm going to give you a whole new maze. So, and my palette becomes ruler. I've got my craft knife handy here. And I'll use this grid ruler to make sure I'm fully aligned. Now I started right here on this first fold line, and I go up 1, 2, 3 squares. I'm going to rotate the paper, and I'm going to go this way 2 squares. And you'll see why we call this the snail in just a second. Okay, I'm going to fold, 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 fold. Okay, and around, you just kind of keep turning every corner, reversing folds as needed until you reach the end of the trail. Let's turn it into a book, and here's how you're going to do that. Repeat the same exact steps that you just did with pieces that will fit an outer cover. This is the same watercolor paper that matches what we use in our Colossal. Same techniques, using the same colors and stamps, and it's also taped off just like we did before. And then you'll just take some mat board and remove the tape, of course, and glue this to mat board. Now, I have shown you everything I know about wrapping mat board, so we don't need to do that today. Look up in the archives to see other shows where I've shown you how to do that, but you'll wrap your covers, and let me show you the finished book. And here it is, the finished book. You can see all the colors. Of course, each one turns out differently, but when you open it, you can start from the back here. What I did is took that Pitt pen, and I started to write just little things that I liked, little sayings I like, expressions that are meaningful to me for some reason. But you can decorate this in any way you want. And it was fun. I mean, our handwriting, while you may not think your handwriting is the greatest, your handwriting is still something that needs to be remembered and needs to be seen. And so just try to release yourself from those self-conscious habits and put your handwriting in here, add pictures, add journaling, do whatever you wish. Now, I hope you know this isn't all. I mean, this whole concept can be translated in so many different ways, and I want to show you a couple of the other things I did using these same techniques after I followed the trail home on that book. If you think about white as a wonderful base, oil pastels respond so well with darker colors because the pigment is very opaque, very rich. So check out the set of note cards I made. Instead of cutting it into a maze book, I cut my entire 16 by 20 Colossal paper into smaller pieces that were attached to coordinating papers to make a beautiful set of note cards. Wouldn't that be a great gift? Speaking of gifts, check this out. I've got some 8 by 8 frames here that I picked up relatively reasonably, and because the Colossal paper is 16 by 20 and I needed 4 8 by 8s, I was able to achieve this with 1 sheet of Colossal paper. And all the same oil pastels, the whole works, some stamping, some handwriting. Aren't these pictures beautiful? Well, clearly this is going to be a gift for me. So I need to hang this in my house, and I want to have them hanging so that they're all perfectly aligned. And I have learned by experience my husband and I are not a good pair for doing that. So I have found a way that I'm going to be able to hang them perfectly, and I want to show you how to do that too. The system I'm using is by PicSure. It's a grid that helps me hang my pictures neatly and evenly on the wall. So in front of me right here I have my picture hanging assistant. Doesn't even talk to me, which in this case I like. So I'll take my picture and I'm just going to place it on the grid, and with my Pitt pen, because it's an India ink, I can actually write on this non-porous surface. I'm going to mark the corner locations of my picture. If you want, you can trace around the entire picture. The next one, I will decide that I think I want these to be about 1 inch apart on the wall. And finally, the last one. Now next what I need to do is figure out where the nails need to go on the wall. So in order to do that, I'll just remove, set this aside, and I'm going to transfer the pictures underneath the template. I realign those corner markings right on the grid, which makes it nice, and I'm going to be sure about where this goes. I can see exactly where the nail hole needs to be, and you just mark it. And mark. Now, all of that work to get 4 pinpoints, but it's worth it. So with the static cling property of this film, just stick it right onto the wall, make sure it's level, make sure the pictures are where you want them to be, and then simply put the holes in right where your pinpoint marks are. Then you can remove this and hang your pictures, and there they are. Now if this doesn't stick to the wall with static cling, just use the adhesive that comes with the PicSure sheet. All right, well there you have it. I just got one thing left to say to you. Happy paper trails until we meet again.
For step-by-step instructions on how to create this week's project, download the design guide featuring special make-it-your-own bonus tips.